Well, hello everyone. It's Donelle Mcadams and we're here with you today. We're going to show you some things for our Wednesday notions, and Anne is going to be going first. I think we're going to wait a few minutes, though, Anne, not minutes, but a few seconds here to get some more people on. And you guys tell us where you're from. I see Sandy's on here from Florida, and fortunately, we're not having Florida weather today here in Indiana. We've got rain and it's actually kind of chilly. So we're kind of rejoicing because it's been a pretty hot start to summer for us. And so the fields are loving it. But just waiting to see a few people come on here. And I don't even know for sure what Anne's going to be showing. I've told her what I'm going to be doing. So it's going to be a surprise for most all of us. So I'm going to be showing you some things you can do with the ruler work accessory set. And some of you may not even know it by that name, but it includes the echo guides and the stitching line disc, and also obviously our wonderful spacing gauge. So I think I'm going to go ahead and give Anne center stage and let her introduce what she's going to do. So Anne, I'm turning it over to you if I know which button to say.
Well, thank you. I talked to Stacy a few weeks back, and I had mentioned to her that there were a couple of templates that some people had said, I really don't know how to use this, and the instructions for me were just not that clear. So would you maybe do a couple of shows kind of showing how to use these templates? I said, yes, I sure will. That would be fantastic. So the first one we're going to do is Circles on Quilts, spinning wheel number 14. So if I can press the right buttons, I'm going to move my camera around and get you where you can actually see what template I'll be using. So hang on a second. Let me maneuver this thing around. Y'all get a really good view of my ceiling fan right now. And let's see, let's turn this puppy around. There we go. All right, now I'm going to press this button and go to nope, that didn't work. Let's press this one and try it. Nope, that's not working either. All right, I am going to flip my phone over. The button I thought you would press did not work. So let's just flip the phone around. And I won't be able to see what you guys are seeing, but hopefully I'll have it in the right position where you can. Donelle, you let me know if this is not working for our students. Let's see. This is wild and crazy, but guys, I'm not an expert at this. So hopefully you get a view of what we're looking at. I'm thinking that you are. Let's turn it maybe this way a little bit more. This is Circles on Quilts, spinning wheel number 14. And here is the template itself. And while I was playing with it yesterday, it occurred to me we have an entire set of templates that go with that particular one. It's called Garden Design Template Set. Yes, I think you can see that okay. I'm having to kind of turn my head upside down to look because, like I said, I'm no expert at this by any means. And anyway, but this is the Garden Design Template Set. And I checked this morning and it is up on the website to order. I've had mine for a couple of years now. It is still only $75 for the set. And I'm going to pull this away and show you what comes in that set. This is Circles on Quilt, spinning wheel number 14. This is a 6-inch arc that comes with the set. This is a 1/2-inch circle. Awesome. I use these guys all the time. Here is another template that comes with it. This is Circles on Quilts, spinning wheel number 7. And you get this cute little crosshair ruler that's about 6.5 inches wide And it is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's an 8-point crosshair. So what's really handy about this little guy is that you can actually take it with you a little bit easier than you can our 12.5-inch ones, because this is, it's small, so it's less likely to break. And you also get some fabulous instructions with this that just really, really, I love this design. I have it on a block, but that's all I have it on. It's just the one single block. So I am going to show you how to start with this little center circle here. And this has everything in it that you're going to need to make this design. And Donna McCauley kind of designed this. So she's gone into really great detail to show you what all is in, or to show you how to use everything in this set. So I love this. So hang on and let's move on. So I've got this all kind of covered up. But I drew out 16 crosshairs, and I'm going to start with this in the center, and I will work my way around it. And then I may not get all the way around, but I'll give you enough that you've got an idea of what we're doing. And then I'll show you a completed design of this that I did a couple of years ago. And hopefully you can see that entire design. Let me raise it up just a little bit. It may be a little slanted on you. I'm sorry for that. But hopefully you can see that entire design. And that is what you would make several of these, or you would actually, I think on this particular one, it's not quilt as you go. So what you would do is actually put your blocks together and then quilt the entire thing. And I'm just going to quilt on a block today, but you can do it in like a big, and you can make as big a quilt as you want to, of course. So I know Donelle has a fantastic method of putting the thumbtacks in, where she actually uses tape. But since I have to make 16 revolutions, I don't really trust my thumbtack to stay in place with a piece of tape. So here's how we do this. I would poke this into that very center where all of those, where my crosshair meets, and flip it over and do this. And I hate poking holes in my fabric, but I felt like for y'all, this might be the better way to do this. Spread that kind of back out. There's my thumbtack right there. And y'all excuse my nails. I've not had time to redo them. Normally they're nicely done, but I have been traveling to some fun places. Okay, there we go. I have that right in the center where we need it. And I will put my template in place. Now I'm going to grab something to point with. Notice that this template has an A and a B. So I'm going to start at A. I'm going to stitch all the way around to B, and I'm going to stop. I'm going to rotate my template, and that's going to start me right back at A. And I will do the same thing again, just stitch around it, stop at B, rotate. It's going to bring me back over to A. So that's why these are called spinning wheels. They're just amazing how they work. And Leonie West, of course, designed these for us. And they're just really simple to operate. So let's see if I can get you over to my machine so that I can show you how to do this. We'll move this over first, and then let's see if we can do this. And I promise you guys, I will do some lessons on how to make sure this works for the next time we do this. Okay. I'm looking, there it is. I was looking for my ruler foot. There it is. Okay. I feel like one of my little grandchildren when they're looking up at you and they turn their head kind of almost like completely around so that they can see your head, your face. That's kind of what I feel like. But I'm just wanting to make sure you guys can see what I'm doing. So now I am in place. And this is something I always tell my students. Because I have the luxury of working on a small piece of fabric today, always bring your template around and have it facing you. I could put it right back here, but then I'm craning my neck to see what's going on back here. So bring this around to the front. And then I'm going to, you notice I have an A and a B. We talked about that a few minutes ago. So always drop your presser foot, your ruler foot in the center of your work, and then bring it back to A. And I can feel that there is a little bit of change, I guess, in the way the template feels. So I know I'm in the right position. I'm going to pull my bobbin thread up and hold on to it. I want my needle position right back in that spot where it started. And I love gloves because they just kind of help me hold my templates a little bit easier. So we're going to start on this, and I'll give you, if I can get around the whole thing, I will. But there's 16 revolutions, so I may not can do the whole thing. We'll see, because I want to be sure and give Donelle plenty of time. So even if we get around just half of it, you're going to get the general idea of what you do. Now you see I've got my fingers here and here and here and here, and I'm holding my thread with this one. So let's get started. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 tiny stitches. And then I'm just going to follow this around nice and slow. If you have not oiled your machine, I recommend that you do it. Mine is a little happy camper right now because she got oil last night. So she is happy, happy, happy. If your machine is one that requires oil. Not all of them do. You see what I'm doing? I've stopped. When I hit B, here's the B right back here. And then I slide my template over and I line up right here. I had a pointer around here somewhere. There it is. Here is the straight line on my template. This is a registration mark, and these are very important to our work. So I've got this out of the way, and I'm just going to keep right on going. I've lined it up and can keep going. Stop on B, slide it around, and start up again. That puts me right back in that position A. And you can see, I will turn this in just a moment so that you can see exactly what's going on with the design. But I want to point out some other registration marks that we have also. Do you see the design that's going on here? Do you see these other registration marks? I'll move them off just a little bit so that you can see them. See these registration marks? Those line up exactly on top of the design that I just made. So even if I didn't have 16 points out here, which I do, but if I didn't, I could still make this design and just line up with the registration marks that are on the template itself. Like I said, Leonie thought of everything we might need. And this to me reminds me of when I was a kid and I played with a spirograph. I bet some of you did too. And I just, every time I look at this, I think, Leonie probably had a spirograph when she was growing up. Donelle, anytime you need to take it over, you just interrupt me and take over, okay? I will keep going with this design until I hear you say stop or till I get to the end. It's nice to be able to work with Donelle today. I miss her. I worked with her some last year at shows and things, and she's still busy with shows, and I'm really busy with teaching classes and with speaking at guilds. So we're kind of going in different directions this year, but anyway, we still get to visit with each other upon occasion, and we
So,
get to be,
Anne,
yeah,
tell us again what the name of that set is.
okay. I would be happy to. It is called the Garden Quilt or Garden Design Set. And I checked this morning and it is on the website. When I put in garden design, it popped right up.
I love that set. I've got it myself. And the thing
Uh-huh.
that I want to share with everybody out there is this is one of those sets that honestly, it really is as easy as Anne's showing you how that works. But I tell you, when you get it done, people are just like in love with what you've done. I mean, it looks like you have, I don't know how to say it other than templates are so amazing in the fact that it's not hard to use them, but when you get it put together, people look at it and they go, how did she do that? And so I would encourage each of you to look at, like she said, I think it's like there's 5 or 6 pieces in it and it's $75 and it's got awesome instructions because Donna McCauley wrote those. And it's definitely a set that has a lot of uses. And I found it interesting because, like I said before, I didn't even know for sure what Anne was doing today. And what I'm going to show you is kind of along the same line, only it's being able to take a Spinifex template that is not designed to be overlapped like that, but we're going to show you how you can do that. So thanks, Anne, for all you shared. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see here. I got to figure out what I'm doing. There we go. And so what I'm going to start out by showing today is actually what we call our ruler work accessory set. And I know some of you already have a spacing gauge and you may even have one of the lanyards, but I'll tell you what, this is definitely a deal because you can see this is $20. And if you buy the lanyard by itself, it's 10. The spacing gauge is, I don't know, 6 or 8. And then also in this set, we have the echo guides and the stitching line disc. So let's start out by showing some of the fun things that you can do with the different designs and different things by using those stitching line discs. So I've already got an 8-point grid drawn on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, if you've never quite understood how to get the rest of the points, when you're using an 8-point, you can use 8 points, 16 points, or 32 points. Now, I know 24 in there was skipped, but there's no use for 24 because that leaves out one whole sector of lines. So I'm going to rotate this so that I am putting these lines here on the lines that are already drawn. So here's an opening, and here's an opening, and there's a line halfway between it. And so what I want to do is I want to position that etched line on what's already been drawn. And then I'm going to go across over here and do the same thing. And then I'm going to look at this direction and make sure that it's lined up. And so that we can get our exact markings where we want. Now, when I'm doing something like this, I want to make sure I've got a good sharp point on my pencil, but I could be doing this with colored pencils too to help differentiate in between there. And I like to do these as dashed lines. So that way I know which one I'm on, the first set or the second set. And for those of you that haven't been with us very long, some of us started with rulers before we even had our crosshair squares. Now that sounds like that was way back in the day, and it really wasn't that long ago, maybe 8 years. And they just make so much difference when we're working with this. Now I'm going to take you and put you a little bit more straight up on this so that you can see what I'm going to be doing. Now when we use our stitching line disc, we have options. There are actually 8 discs. There are 4 sizes, 2 of each. The one I'm going to be using today is the next to the smallest, and so I'm going to put the rest of them away. Now, when we first had these, they were clear, and that's all great and good when you're working with them, but when one falls to the floor, oh my goodness, it's so hard to find. And the whole idea of this stitching line disc is this is a 1/2 inch from side to side. And so that represents our foot, our ruler work foot, when we're stitching. And this, it's not an ink pen, but a pencil is actually our needle and our thread. The pencil's the needle, the lead's the thread. And so that's going to give us the ability to draw our designs. Now, this particular template is called, let's see, I got to tell you here. It's one of my favorites to use, Spinifex 10. And it comes as a set, or you can get them individually. But this is Spinifex 10. And so when I draw this design, I am going to line up my needle and thread right there in the center. I'm going to line my line up here at the top, and I'm just going to draw right around there. Now, you're wondering, why did I put these extra lines in? That's for something later. So what I'm going to do now, as we always try to teach you, when you're doing one that rotates around and does not have to be consecutive, do the opposite side first. So I'm going to rotate this around, and I'm going to draw that. And then I would either come up to here or go clear up to the one that's at what I'm going to call 9 o'clock, and then come back and fill these in. Now, I'm going to stop at this because I want to show you why I put those in there. One of the reasons I like to draw my designs out is I learn each time I do this, I learn something new. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rotate this, and we're going to pretend that this is the start. And so I'm going to just try to see what it looks like when I just stitch to this next line right there and come back to the middle. I'm going to rotate to the next one, not that one, the next solid line, and stitch out there and stop when it meets and come back. Now this has already been drawn, so you're going to kind of pretend that that's not there. So you can see, because I've already drawn it out, this is what that will look like. So that what I did was I went all the way out and back, moved it to the next solid line. And when you're doing this, you really only need that first one to know where to stop, because the next time you just stop wherever this is. So now, rather than being a filled in design where everything crosses, let's get back to this for a second, so that it looks like that and creates that inner design, you can now do designs with your templates so that it gives that fanning effect. So you have to kind of, let's see if I've got an eraser here, pretend all of this is not there. So even though I drew 16 lines on that other page, I could have done the same thing with only having this one here because I just needed to know where to stop there. And then the rest of the time when I'm stitching, it's going to come to there and stop. And on this particular design, you actually do return to the center each time. So if I was doing the next one of this on this solid line, I would come clear out here, and then I would return to center. Now, I know this is throwing a lot at you at one time, but if you don't want to return to center, you can come to here and stitch back, and you would need those lines in there, your extra 16, because that's where you would stop. You would move to the next one, and you would stitch back to center. You would move to the next one. We would stitch around to that line and back to this one and stop. So that's the beauty of not only being able to practice on paper, but to practice with the exact line that you're going to stitch. And I hope that helps you a little bit understand why we love our stitching line disc. So I'm going to take this design right here, and I'm going to turn it so I've got nothing behind it. And I'm going to show you how we can use our spacing gauge. And for those of you that aren't familiar with our lanyards, I just absolutely love the lanyards. I have about 5 of them that are hanging on my machine over here to the side. One's got a cutter on it, a little X-Acto knife. The other one's got, actually the other 2 of them have my sticks with designs on it, but this comes right off. And if I was using, again, I need to put it away while I'm talking. I just subconsciously put it away. I need my little stitching line disc. Got to get the right one. Why are there different sizes? Because of your pencil leads. If you're using a mechanical pencil, it's got a real fine lead. So what we're going to do is we're going to use that template, and we're going to embellish our design a little bit here. Now I got to remember it was on there this way. So if I'm down here and I'm going to embellish this side, and I want to put on there 1/4 inch lines. So in other words, this is the way it's normally lined up to get the lines that you see, but I want to put another line in here, and I want it to be at 1/4 inch. Well, if it's the way you do it sometimes, you can just pull this in and you're going to have that 1/4 inch. But there are other times it's easier to use the 1/2 inch right here. So I would measure with my 1/2 inch. I'm backwards here. Let me pull that in like I was going to. I'm pulling this in so that this touches. So now when it stitches, it's stitching 1/4 inch away. I pull it in so it touches again, and I'll stitch 1/4 inch away. So you see how that's working, and I'm not coming up the same amount each time. So you can see how you can embellish that. Okay. Now there are times when you want longer distances. Instead of this 1/4 inch, you may want a 1/2 inch apart. And that's when we would use this 1/2 inch. So I'm going to see if I can show you over here on another one what I'm talking about. So if I put the 1/2 inch, I'm having one of those days that I'm having a mental block here. I'm not sure what I'm doing. I don't think I can do it on this one because this one came this way, and it would have to come the other way for it to make sense. but that's when you would use the 1/2 inch spot. I'll see if I can draw another one that's complete and so you can use that. But I want you to see how this allows us to do this on paper with this stitching line disc for us to be able to see, is that really what we want it to look like? Do we want that to stitch and have that? It really does add a lot in many cases. I think I added 5, which is going to bring it pretty close to each other. So if you were stitching this and you add these lines, you can see all you got to do is move this up to the previous one and you get that embellishment there. It makes it pretty easy. So that's your stitching line disc and what they can do for you. And obviously a spacing gauge, I cannot do without that at all. I had a lady once tell me, I hope it's none of you, but I had a lady once tell me, my whole goal is to be able to do this and never use a stitching line disc. And I thought, oh my God, or not a stitching line disc, a spacing gauge. And I said, why? And she said, I just think that you should be able to do it without that. And I thought, if you want accuracy, you definitely want to be using your spacing gauge. So that's 2 of the things that come in that. Now, next, we have what is called our echo guides. And what echo guides do, may need to get this back so you can see it easily enough. Echo guides will allow you to make your footprint of your foot larger. So I'm going to get out a foot right here and show you that when I go to put this on here, there is a 0.5. I think if I pull this up here, you can see it. There's a 0.5 on that, which means I'm taking this 1/2 inch foot that gives me a 1/4 inch from the needle, and I'm going to put this on here, and now my template will line up to this, and from the needle, it is now a 1/2 inch. If I put the next size on, it's going to be 3/4 of an inch. And last but not least is a whole inch. Now, when you're putting these on, you want to put them on so that you can read the number correctly. If you go the other way, this one is backwards, this foot might not fit in there because the opening on the correct side, it's more like a bowl. So this up here is wider than that down there. Now that can be a great thing because if you have a foot other than one of our ruler work feet, you might find that it's just a little bit smaller. And if it's smaller, you can then put it in from this side because it will fit in there because this side is a smaller opening. Now, if it doesn't fit then, another trick that I've shared, I know it's with several of the people maybe on here today, but it's over, they usually are over the pond, the ones I know of. We put one of our pieces of tape over that opening. And then I took my little X-Acto and I just gave this a little bit of a cut, like a big plus sign right in that opening. So this was on the back side, and it's still, the foot was a little bit too small for the opening. But now when they put this in here, that extra tape takes up space. And when they put their foot on, it will hold it in place. So you have quite a few options to use our echo guides. And the reason I'm telling you this is because of the fact that there are other sets of echo guides out there that are, like, I'm serious, almost 8 times the price that ours are. So if you find that your foot, being by a different company than the WESTALEE company, doesn't fit exactly right, I've shown you 3 ways that you can get that foot to fit. So yes, this fits a lot of different machine makes feet, and it also fits many of the long arm feet. So what do they do now that we know they fit? Okay, let's go back and get us a piece of paper here and show you. So if I was going to do this design right here, and I used my Echo Guide, and some of you are like, well, you can't do it with the foot. No, but guess what? All you have to do is take your stitching line disc and plop it right there in the middle of your foot. And this is the shape that you would get. Now without it, let's just show you the difference. That's what it would look like. Well, guess what? Let's go up to the next one. Put it in there. Draw. Those, you guys, are stitching lines. So you can see that you can buy a template and still get many sizes of it just by using Echo Guides. Now, I've only used the Echo Guides here on one piece there. But let's say, let me get my crosshair square here. And if you have not invested in the little mini crosshair squares, it's time to do that because they can really, so this is a 6 point. Maybe I want it bigger. I could always extend these lines if I needed to. I'm going to take this and I'm going to take my big 1 inch here and set that down there. My needle still goes in the middle, and I'm going to line up with the lines. And everything I'm doing here, I can do right on my sewing machine with stitches. So you can see, if it wasn't me with a stitching line disc, that would be me with a ruler work foot and an Echo Guide. So with this big template, I got that little design simply by adding an Echo Guide to my foot. So that's what it would look like on your machine. And you would just stitch the same way I just stitched. So I can tell you, one of the things is, I see Linda here says, I love the 6 point crosshairs. When they start getting down into smaller ones, I love them too, because it gives you a more complete flower look without everything crossing over each other. So you can see that I did that small flower. Let me measure it, see what size it is there. So from side to side, that one is 3 3/4 inches. And the template itself, when I would have stitched that, it would have been 8 inches. So that very template would have made us an 8-inch flower, whereas we're down to 3 3/4 just by using an Echo Guide. So I hope that's helped you to understand why we encourage you to use the extra accessories that we have, because even though you look at them and you think, I'm not sure I need that, there's so much you can do with it. As you saw here with this, if I'm using Echo Guides and I'm going to draw, I just take that little stitching line disc and set it right down there in the center and do my drawing, and it will be exact. So someone said, which template is this one? This is the Spinifex 10. You can see there, or let me just get the package. It's a very, very useful set because obviously you can go clear up to 11.5. But remember, I was just now using the 7.5, and I was able to get with using my Echo Guides down to a smaller design. So there's a lot you can use this with, And remember that other one that I had, we could do it with the 8 points and have this. So again, it overlapped and didn't all just go all the way around. So much that you can do. And that's what Ann and I wanted to show you with some of the templates this afternoon. So I'm going to bring Ann back on. And I'll tell you, it's been a lot of fun sharing this with you this afternoon. And if you have any questions, go ahead and put them right here in our questions. We'll try to get them answered. So anyway, thanks for joining us today. And we'll see you around soon somewhere. And I'll tell you, Ann, thanks for joining me. It's been a pleasure.
Oh, you're welcome. I enjoyed it too. Oh,
yep.
Kitty
Echo guides can be very entertaining for others also.
I think so.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.